but it's Toso. She's a seasoned yoga teacher, spiritual coach, and author dedicated to helping individuals heal emotional wounds and reconnect with their divine essence. With over 3 decades of experience, she has guided thousands towards emotional freedom and spiritual empowerment. Originally from Copenhagen, Denmark, Maria now resides in St. Paul. Her Heal What Hurts philosophy helps individuals release emotional triggers stored in the body's energy field, fostering deep self-trust and energetic sovereignty. Through her signature Heal What Hurts process, Maria integrates breath work, somatic practices, meditation, and sacred feminine healing. She's just had a new book published, and it's titled Heal What Hurts. So please help me welcome Maria Toso.
Thank you, Ella. Okay, so when Gary wrote me that this would be the theme, healthy habits, back in December, little did he know, I know, we know, what this week would be like for us. So I'll still be weaving that together, but first and foremost, I just want to acknowledge that we're in new territory, and I think all of us are profoundly scared. And I think that we have to acknowledge that, and that comes out in different ways for different people. But the theme of the month, healthy habits, might be a good one to look at, because what do we do when we're scared and we don't really know what to do with that? It's not really an emotion we learn to deal with necessarily as kids. We're often told, well, have a lollipop, watch a movie. You know, maybe when we're really little, we get to sit in someone's lap and be held and kind of cry it out. But there comes a time when we're supposed to kind of be over that. And in the session right before this one, we did some body scan meditation with Annie, and some of us, very clear, had fear lodged in the body. And I would actually assert we all do. It's just a matter of to what degree are we willing to tune into it. Because the world has asked us to somehow ignore that and keep going. So the book that I wrote specifically is about how these places that are wounds from childhood, maybe even former lives, if you go with a yogic perspective on things, they sit as contractions in the energy field of the body. So when something scares you, whether it's somebody jumping out from behind a door, or if it's something that's much more long-standing, what is the gesture in the body? Right? It's a contraction of sort. My daughter came back from Mexico yesterday, and she'd bought me this little wooden figure with like this little bobbling head. Do you know those little figures from Puerto Vallarta? And so she gave each of us one, and mine was this little snail. And you don't have them as much, at least not in Minnesota, but when I grew up in Denmark, they were all over the backyard. There were so many of them, and I loved them, and I wrote little names on the little shells. My dad's plan was that we would eat l'escargot, which is like a French thing where you cook them with butter and garlic. But once I had a whole inventory of each of their names, and I kept checking that they were all there, nobody had eaten them. But I would follow them around the yard, and they would have these tendrils that would come out, right? And that's how they would orient. And when you would touch just a little bit on the tip, like that. And that's often how I think of what happens in the energy field of the body. And usually in one of kind of the chakra area. So today, 2 of us, it was Michael and Maria, both felt it in the solar plexus. But it could also be throat, heart, somewhere else where you feel that contraction. Now, if you contract in the face of something scary and you don't have a healthy habit for how to release that again, it's like you contract maybe to an 8, and then, well, that feels awful, so you might get it down to a 5 or a 4, but then you walk around with a 5 or a 4. And not until you really enter in there are you able to release that where it's actually happening in a very real muscular way. Someone else mentioned having hip tension and how emotions are lodged there. So if you think of the whole body as an energy system with channels of energy running through us, prana, life force, what gives life to this body that once was not here and once will not be here. And in the time between those 2 points, it's being breathed by spirit. And spirit is flowing through all the channels. And when the body is super healthy and open and expansive, then all the chakras spin just so. That's probably very few in the modern world that have that flow happen in a natural, healthy way all the time. There's usually something that's tense and tight. Now, it's not so different from acupuncture. If some of you are familiar with that, how we get stagnant energy or blocked energy somewhere, and then a doctor will insert a little needle to kind of break up that stagnation. I think we can do the same for our own body when we're able to feel the place in the body that's tight. And what is it then that we insert? Well, it might still be a good idea to go to acupuncture because it could manifest as something very physical. Like in my case, that's also where my fear sits. And it can become digestive issues if I don't continuously release it. But in the case of what we could do that would be a healthier habit than the extra cocktail or the extra sugar or the extra scrolling and all the things we all do, because we can't stand how we feel, which is so understandable. But what we might do instead, what might be where we're at, that all that's going to save us now with this onslaught of scary things that are happening, that the body is constantly in contraction to, is the power that's greater than all of that, is love, is presence. And we know this when someone is fully, fully present with us, really sees us for that moment where it's like, I recognize the human in you. I'm here. I'm listening to you. I take you in. I even feel what you're feeling for a moment. That oneness is bridged for a moment there. That's when we feel held and loved. And let's be real, the more each of us kind of check out, like a Death Eater, that was the image that came to mind, but that checking out of the body, you walk around the grocery store and people aren't really there. You feel it? So why should you be there? You may as well be on your phone too. So the spirit essence prana of presence in this world, the manifested world, has lessened. There's less of it. So it actually feels like there's less love, less presence. And that makes us even more scared. That's like coming home to a house where you expect mom and dad to be there and give you love and ask you how you're doing and cook you a warm meal, but they're not there, or they're zonked out in some way. You know, in a very real way for some kids grew up with maybe alcoholics or absent parents. But it's a little bit that feeling that we have both in the community with each other, but maybe more than anything with ourselves. How much do we check out? Like really being real about that, not in a shaming way, because who wants to be where no one else is, bringing love into the space? We all want to say, well, if you're not going to be here, why would I be here? If you're going to be on your phone, I'll be on my phone too. But the moment that presence arrives, where it's like, I see you, I heard what you said, I understand what you feel because I'm here and I'm interested in hearing that, something relaxes, doesn't it? And touch as well. The moment when you're really upset and someone puts a hand on you and just says, what's up? What's going on? Right? Something releases. And it's so simple, and yet we're so far from doing it, to allow the love, the presence to kind of rush through to where it's needed. First and foremost in ourselves, because when love flows, not perfectly, I don't know that we can get there, it's too Kali Yuga right now, but we can get there more through the exact practices we did prior to this session, just sitting together, breathing and feeling our body. Then I am more here. I'm willing to be with what's scared inside of me and even move it through, which sometimes means crying. I guided meditation last night whilst crying. That's just how it was. You know what? Other people started crying too, because that's one of the ways we release fear and tension and contraction in the body. It's a bit like a frozen emotion. If you think of an emotion as like energy in motion, like Rumi's guest house poem, right? An emotion comes through, a fear, anger, joy, and then it moves through. That's okay. We get to be frustrated for a moment. We get to be angry for a moment. It moves through. But the moment we clamp down around it, it's now like a little knot in the energy field of the body that is not moving, like frozen energy. And here's the esoteric part of that I'll just give you, and you can sort of try this one out for size, that the very emotion that is blocked and locked up in this way becomes part of what is projected out there, so that is more likely to become the experience. So the more we hang on to fear because we don't know what to do with it, not because we want to hang on to it or there's something wrong with us, we just haven't really been taught how to be so present that we can move it through. So it sits there and it draws more of the same. That is actually the esoteric way that we manifest the world collectively. So all of a sudden, there is some degree of responsibility that each of us can take for what is happening out there. I mean, that's kind of a big one, right? To say, maybe my unresolved fear, things that I've been exposed to that I didn't process through, is part of what is brought into this manifest world. So then suddenly, what I'm proposing here, being so lovingly present, first and foremost in ourselves, and in a new and deeper way with each other, might be part of improving the conditions out there. That doesn't mean there aren't also maybe activists, political, all the things that need to happen, but that inner landscape is part of what we will end up collectively experiencing. So what does that require? Well, so the month theme was healthy habits, creating healthy habits. We tend to do that in January, right? Okay, so 2025 was the sum total of all my habits, and what did not go so well? Well, it's because I didn't work out enough, I didn't eat the right food, I didn't meditate enough, all the things, right? That I should have done better, and if I had, then my life would be better now, and now I'm going to do it. Well, we're missing the layer underneath that, because the quote-unquote unhealthy habit is always a strategy to feel better, so it's not so damn hard. And that's a different approach to an unhealthy habit or addiction than simply saying, okay, get your head out of the fridge, get that bottle out of the house, all of those kind of shaming things that we do both to ourselves and each other. And instead say, okay, be really real about when I've been scrolling on my phone for an hour in my bed, why did I do that? Well, because somehow that keeps at bay the fear and the sadness and the grief that wants to come up. And that moment when sadness, fear, grief wants to arise in the energy field of the body and actually come out, whether that's tears or yawning or crying or however that moves through, it is so uncomfortable. Let's be real. And we don't know, is that going to stop? Is it just going to be like a momentary moving through? Or am I just going to be a blob that can't take care of my children if I really give in to the releasing and the moving through of what is in my body? So instead, we resort to, I'm going to take whatever it is I take, smoke something, imbibe something, eat something. We all have the things that we do. Phone is probably one of the biggest ones now, just simply the scrolling on the phone, which seems somewhat innocent in terms of all the things you can be addicted to, and yet look at your screen time. I did. It was not pretty. So, and yes, okay, we're learning all those things that are out there, but when we're on the phone, it's like a dementor. Yeah, I refer a lot to Harry Potter, which is embarrassing because I'm 55 and I love Harry Potter, but that sucking of presence energy out of the human body. And for us to return fully back into ourselves and really feel and process what's going on, both on our own. I think we have to learn to sit with it on our own, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about why that doesn't have to be as scary as it sounds, but also collectively, So yes, go to a protest, yes, go have a drink with your group of friends and cry it out, but there might be another way where we can sit and say, okay, where are you feeling this week in your body? Where does it show up? You watched the video, you read about it, where does it sit? Okay, all I had to do was say those 2 sentences, or however many it was, I feel it right here. And there's, again, that kind of pressing of tears in the body. Now, I scan my body all the time. That's my spiritual practice. So I have very quick access to where it is, and not everyone does. But I think there is something there for us to learn to be that. It's presence, but you know what it also is? It's full incarnation. We chose to be here for this time. And if you're here, I bet you also chose to be someone who could send love and light into in yoga we call the time we're in now Kali Yuga, as a very dark time where we're very separated from feeling as divine beings, as Ella said in the beginning. We feel more separate than ever, and when we feel separate, we can do a lot to other people without feeling all that sad about it, because we're too dense and contracted into individuality to recognize the brother and the other and the oneness of it all. So how do we do this together as a community? How do we start to return to the body so that when we return to the body, and we'll do an exercise because I think that's really the best thing I can offer today, of coming so fully into the body that all the lights are on inside, then something starts to shift inside. And that's what I do. So Michael shared with us that he felt contracted in the solar plexus, and that's exactly where I feel it, so I empathize with that greatly. And the willingness to be really, really present with the contracted energy in a very real way, there it is. And not for the purpose of, I'm going to be present with it so it will go away. I'm going to be present with it because this is scared, contracted energy, and that deserves love. Just the way a little contracted, scared child deserves love. So we start to notice that the energy in the body and the fear in the body, it is almost a childlike feeling, which is, of course, a very vulnerable feeling, and most of us would rather be drunk than vulnerable, right? Or sugared up and then vulnerable, or scrolled up than vulnerable. And yet, where is it that we actually really meet? Have you ever sat in a circle with people working on themselves, personal growth, and then someone starts crying? What do they say? I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I have a friend who taught that type of thing in Thailand, completely different culture. Same thing. I'm sorry, I'm sorry. It's a human thing that we think we have to cover up the vulnerability, and yet it's through the portal of vulnerability and presence that we actually emerge out on the other side. I'll say one more thing that's also in my book that I think is important, and why we might be scared to do it. There is going into a contracted, fearful place somewhere in the body where we're simply present with the energy and we call upon the divine that is in each of us, whatever you want to name that. But you bring, and you can, with your powerful words, incantate that. Say, dear divine, loving energy, whatever your name for that is, please help me hold this. You're kind of bringing that together, the childlike, fearful, contracted little fist with the hand of your own divine. I am here, and then eventually there is a slow kind of loosening of that contraction that has happened in the body. I think from time to time there is the contraction. The more we act out of that contraction, i.e. numb out or lash out of that contraction, the tighter it gets, the more tightly it's wound, and the more severely it acts out. And the opposite is true when we bring presence and love to it. It starts to soften, so maybe the contraction, if you could give it a number, instead of an 8, it's a 2, and there's less desire for. Maybe you have half a glass of wine instead of a bottle. Maybe you scroll for half an hour instead of 3 hours, whatever it is. Yeah? So, but now I distracted myself a little bit from what I really wanted to say was when you go into that place that's fearful in the body, there's kind of 2 routes once you notice it. There's the route that is a story, a conclusion you've drawn all the other times when you felt that way. And it's usually something like, I'm not safe, I don't belong here, I never will belong here, the world is not safe, it's all going to go to shit. It's a story, and once that story starts, where we're actually just a little bit present to the physical sensation, but a lot present to the story, and because we're so conditioned to being in the mind, we're so trained to be in the intellect and not be embodied, that story can take off with us. If that story takes off with us, I would say that's called depression. Like that is a downward spiral that there really isn't an end point. We are such good storytellers, and it can get more and more embellished. So the way out of that, and I still have to do this after 35 years of meditating, just the body. Just the sensation in the body. And the moment I even say that, I can feel that more witnessing part of me witnessing the contraction that is here. The moment I tune into it, it's right there, and I'm just being with it in the body. God, please bring your light to this place. And these are just the things I say. You can come up with how you pray or incantate your loving divine light. Dear God, help me release these fear-based contractions. Help me open up to divine love. And it's like the vessel of the body itself, which is like a cup that can contain X amount of a certain amount of spirit essence, of higher self essence. When that contracts in fear, we contain less. If we're really tight, there's not much higher self dropping into that cup. What's left is survival. And what happens when we're totally in survival and don't have a connection to our higher self? Well, probably what happened on Wednesday. If we were to tune in to the body of the human that did that, and we could measure his contraction and how much was left of his higher self in there, it was probably all kind of squeezed out from stress. I told my daughter last night after teaching this relaxation practice, I wish I could do this for everyone. I even wish I could go do it for the ICE team. Because I think that all the violence and the inhumanity, we become less human the more tight we are. So, kind of to summarize, as I take you through a little practice, if you're willing, the story will come up. We're being taken over by a fascist regime. This is Nazi Germany, 1933. Anybody who has, anything that looks suspicious will be rounded up and put in a camp and all the things. And I'm not saying there aren't scary things happening out there, and historically we have to be aware and awake. But the story can go become so intense that we're not effective. And if we want to be effective, then we relax as much as we can, let as much light in as we can. We're as willing as we can possibly muster to be with the contracted places. And my own little Maria willingness to be with the contracted places is not that great. But when I call upon the divine, it's infinite. So it's not something I can do alone. It's a little bit like, and I haven't myself gone through a 12-step program, but I have friends who have, that there is this sense that without something greater, you can't do it. It's too much. And even though it's not alcohol for people who don't drink alcohol or don't drink it to excess, it's still almost an addictive quality that comes in when we start to contract and then pour all the numbing agents or quote-unquote not so great habits on top of that. Can you guys feel that? Yeah. It's good to feel it. And the person who is feeling it right now is not just feeling it for yourself. You're allowing the collective grief and tension to move through your body right now. I really believe that. I believe the more each of us is willing to feel and be a processor of dark, dense, contracted energy, the more we improve the collective. And we want to improve the collective, not just our side. We actually want the dense, contracted, fearful energies to process through, and we disperse them with loving light. We disperse them with the divine that we have within. So each of us become like a little garbage disposal. That's a terrible word. But like all that, we actually start to absorb some of the negative. There's a meditation in Buddhism called Tonglen meditation that I did when I was 21 years old. I don't know what I was doing, but we sat for a whole weekend, and you imagine sucking in bad energy and letting it, transform inside your body. You were fasting too, believe it or not, and then you would exhale out better energy. That's part of what we're doing here. So we have to prepare our bodies to do that if we're willing. And we're not always going to be willing. Sometimes we're going to want to curl up in our beds with ice cream and Netflix, and that's okay too. But we have that capacity if we are willing. It starts with us, though. It really does. And even to hear a man say, I feel this fear that's right here, even when I then distract from it, when I go back, it's there. Thank you for that honesty, because I think there is this idea that somehow spiritual practice is supposed to make you fearless. I think spiritual practice is supposed to make you courageous. Courageous comes from the French word cœur, heart. That the heart becomes so wide and big. And again, when we were meditating in the session before this is always the image I get. When I'm not really present in my heart and I'm rushing, I'm walking on ice and I'm all tense up and I sit down and I'm late, it's a little bit like my heart is like a little closed rosebud. And then when we sit and meditate and bring awareness, it's like this rosebud opens up, these soft petals start to open up like that. And you can feel it in a space when more people have that opening. When the heart space, heart chakra opens up like that, you don't have to tell someone they can't hurt someone else. They just don't. It's an inner state that is love. It's a filling with love, and the heart space starts to become the organ of perception and receptivity, and the mind, the processing intellect, left brain, that's like secondary. That's like the secretary. And this becomes the director. Yeah? Okay. Can we do an exercise? You willing to drop in? Okay. So for this, let yourself ground into your seat. Let yourself feel for a moment that you chose to be here on earth at this time. You might not remember that choice, but some part of you knows, I came here at this time to be a light. And maybe inwardly say yes. Yes to my life here now. Yes to being here now. Yes to my existence on earth at this historic time. And now as you declare that in some way inside yourself, if it's appropriate for you, now start to become aware of your breath. And let the feeling of breathing, the sensation of breath, spirit, same word in my native tongue, spirit and breath, breathing in, spiriting in, spiriting out. Let that be the reminder, I am a spiritual being. I am spirited. My breath is spiritualizing this body in this moment for this lifetime. And let the breath be light. And let the breath come in a little deeper. And allow the bodily vessel, energy comprised of sound and light, moving together. Feel where your body is like the little snail tendril that is a little contracted. And maybe you use my words, maybe you come up with your own. I release and let go of fear-based contractions. I open myself to my spirit light. Now bring your awareness into the heart space. Let your heart be a temple, a church, a cathedral, a pine forest, whatever is a holy, sacred space in your mind, lofty, tall, wide. And visualize light, sunlight streaming in, but also from the innermost core of the sanctuary, light expanding and opening the space. There's a hymn that we sing for Christmas in Denmark, and it starts with, it's in Danish, but it's translated, make the door wide and tall. And I think the door is the heart. So visualize your heart as a space that's becoming wider, broader, deeper, taller. And let the light grow, expand, intensify. Maybe you imagine what it's like to turn a dimmer up to a more intense light. And feel what it's like to allow the heart space to be more light-filled. Like a little sun inside the chest, radiating light in all directions, way beyond the body, but also very much into the body, down through the legs, out through the arms, up through the head, neck, and shoulders. And then from that state, feel the place in your body that is in contraction, maybe all the time, maybe more so this week, and maybe in more weeks to come. And if that's a place in your body that you can easily reach, then bring your hand to it and acknowledge it. I feel you, I feel this. This is real, this is in my body. And let the hand radiate heart energy, light, love, Reiki, whatever you want to name it, directly into that place. Now, what would your words be if you picked up a contracted, scared child that felt helpless, powerless, unloved, unsafe? I would say something like, I've got you. I'm here. I'm right here. You're not alone. I'm with you. It's okay. Let me hold you. All you have to do is sit right here. I'm with you. Now inwardly, let your words flow through. And notice how the energy in the body responds to that loving presence. Does it shift, soften, tighten? Just notice. There's no right or wrong here. You're giving love to something scared. That's it. I'm here. Now visualize the area illuminated more and more. Notice if the mind is going into word mode, and then gently say just the body. Right now, just the body. I release and let go of fear-based contractions. I let the light of the divine in. More light of the divine into this area. I release and let go as best I can in this moment. I release and let go. I am here. Now, this is a little ice cube, and you're shining some light onto an ice cube. The ice cube is melting a little bit. If you take an ice cube and put it out in the sun, it will start to melt. If you leave it there for a few minutes, it might not melt a lot. But if you leave it there in the warmth, in the sun, it slowly starts to flow instead of being hard, instead of being a weapon, instead of being scared. Now acknowledge to this place within before we disperse our attention back into the whole of the body. I notice and I'll be back. You're not unwelcome. I'm willing to have you with me. There's good reason why you feel the way you do. I'm not ashamed of you, and if I ever have been, I'm sorry. That was just my conditioning. From now on, I vow to love you and hold you whenever you feel scared and to be with you. And that love doesn't expire. It's not like hurry up and feel better so I can be a really different person. No, this takes the time it takes for you to heal this, and it's okay. That's what I'm here for. And as I do that work of bringing more light and love into the body, I become more and more united with and closer to the divine I was missing all along. So the very contraction I used to wish was not there is the one that is helping me remember that the divine is within, and the more I connect with it, the better I feel. From that perspective, we might even say thank you. Thank you for being so quote-unquote sensitive that you get scared in the face of something scary. And thank you for showing that to me so that I may love you. And thank you for letting me love you. Now let your awareness expand into the whole of the body again. So the little spot, big spot, wherever that is in your body, it's still there. It's okay. Just like you don't dismiss a child for being sick. In fact, you might strap it to your hip and walk around with the kid all day on your hip just to be extra close. You get to be extra close. Open the eyes. And see if even with eyes open, it's okay to be in a human body that is carrying some contracted energy that is there for very good reason. Yeah. How did that feel? A little dipping of toes into the somatic field of the body. How are you feeling? Yeah? We're the safety valves. The pressure is building when we allow these feeling, whether it comes out as tears, yawning, sighing, very typical to yawn when we move energy. We are releasing a little bit of that tight pressure that's in us, around us. Yeah? Anyone else? Yeah. It's a somber mood. That's what I got for you today. Gary has turned on the purple light, so I have to wrap up, or Ella's going to come kick me off the stage. So thank you for coming out on a cold morning, and keep shining your light on everyone, our little community here. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Maria. Hello? Okay. So just to integrate a little bit more, how about this? How don't we just take a moment to do some breathing? So if you'll take a deep breath in, hold it, and release it. One more, and release it. Thank you. I don't know about you, but that helps me to integrate and get back in my body. I don't necessarily leave it all the way, but I enter a different level of consciousness, if you will. And so I do like to be present. If you didn't know, our services are recorded and stored on YouTube. Our channel is Your LHSC. I intend to go back and experience that meditation again, so thank you. All right, so now is the time I'd like to talk about sharing your gifts of money, your gifts of time. So Lake Herod is funded by your donations. It's one of the sources of income for your donations. It helps us to pay the bills and maintain this facility so that we can continue to offer fun events and create space for great speakers to come. So the ushers will be passing the basket. Give what you can give. Today, there's a QR code if you don't have cash. Consider becoming a monthly donor. Through our website, there's a button. Through PayPal, you can become a monthly donor. So give what you can. Appreciate it.
If I could tell the world just one thing, it would be that we're all okay. And not to worry, 'cause worry is wasteful and useless in times like these. I won't be made useless, won't be idle with despair. I'll gather myself around my faith, the light, the darkness most fear. Hands are small, I know, but they're not yours, they are my own. But they're not yours, they are my own, and I am never broken. Poverty stole your golden shoes, it didn't steal your laughter, and heartache came to visit me, but I knew it wasn't ever after. We'll fight, not out of spite, 'cause someone must stand up for what's right. 'Cause where there's a man who has no voice, there are shadows singing. My hands are small, I know, but they're not yours, they
So we need people who can help with the donations, offerings, collections. We need people that can help with the announcements and speaker introductions as well. So anything that you feel called to do, let me know, and then we'll figure out a way to have you participate. So thank you. And let's circle up. I don't know that we have enough to go all the way around the entire middle section.
Yeah. Okay, let's sing a song. All right, I'll do call and response. It's very brief, and then we'll do it together. Now I walk in beauty. Now I walk in beauty. Beauty is before me. Beauty is before me. Beauty is behind me. Beauty is behind me, above and below me, above and below me. Can we try? Now I walk in beauty. Beauty is before me. Beauty is behind me, above and below me. One more time. Now I walk in beauty. Beauty is before me. Beauty is behind me, above and below me. May we all stand strong in the center of our being, the light that we all carry within. And let no one extinguish that. Let no one make us forget our humanity. And may we always maintain the ability to see the light within every human being. When I was 11, 12 years old, I was obsessed with the Nazi time. I grew up in Denmark, so both my parents and grandparents had grown up under the Nazi occupation. And I read Anne Frank's diary, and somewhere in there she wrote, and I never forgot it, she's sitting in an attic, stuffed full of people, scared to get discovered, which they eventually did by the soldiers. But she wrote in her diary, I still believe there's something good inside every human being. May we not forget, because that's when evil has taken us over. Thank you for coming today.